Hi, everyone, and welcome to Altaley Mining's live corporate webinar. This is Will Mays with RB Milestone. Altaley Mining is a Canadian-based publicly traded mining company operating in Mexico that engages in the exploration, development, and operations of polymetallic mineral resources projects in Mexico. The shares are traded on the TSXV under the symbol ATLY, and the OTCQX under the symbol ATLYF, and on the Frankfurt Exchange under the symbol TSGA. Joining us today is the company's president, CEO, and director, Ralph Shearing, who will be going through Altaley's investor presentation. This will include an overview of current operation, recent achievements, and upcoming milestones. At the end of the presentation, we'll open it up for Q&A for Ralph to address. And if you're interested in asking a question and are logged in the Zoom app or the web platform, you can submit your questions directly in the Q&A module. Please note that this presentation is being recorded today, Wednesday, February 23rd, 2022, and will soon be made available on the company's website at altaleymining.com. Today's call may contain forward-looking statements that are subject to risks and uncertainties that may cause actual results, performance, or developments to differ materially from those contained in the statements and are not guarantees of future performance of the company. No assurance can be given that any of the events anticipated by forward-looking statements will occur, and if they do, what benefits the company will obtain from them. Also, some risks and uncertainties may be the control of the company. Altaley has a full disclaimer contained in its presentation. Lastly, RBMG is not a registered investment advisor or broker-dealer. For more information, please visit our website at rbmilestone.com. And now it's my pleasure to introduce Mr. Ralph Shearing, President, CEO, and Director. Ralph, it's your stage. Take it away.
Thank you very much, and welcome everybody to the presentation. Thank you. Pleasure to have you here. Let's just start right into it. We'll go through the PowerPoint presentation, then have Q&A after the presentation. So Altaley Mining is building Mexico's next mid-tier mining company. We have one operating mine right now called Campo Morado in the right-hand side of the pictures here. And on the other side, we're building a mine. It's going to be a gold mine. It's called Tahuehueto, and it's in northwestern Durango. Once we start operations at Tahuehueto, and that's supposed to be within the next 2 to 3 weeks, we expect to be producing our first concentrate. We will be able to start transitioning our company towards a precious metal producer. Our currently operating mine is primarily zinc, and that's the Campo Morado. Forward-looking statements will be the next one. That's already been explained, so we'll jump that. Here's our location of projects. So we're in Mexico. The Tahuehueto gold mine, which is being built now, ready to start production very soon, is located in northwestern Durango. Campo Morado is down in the state of Guerrero. Campo Morado is currently the 6th largest zinc producer in Mexico. We have a pathway to potentially increase our production by 1,000 tons per day to get to 3,000 tons per day. I'll explain more of that in a few minutes. We're exploring process improvements to increase precious metal recoveries by up to 400% in gold and up to 200% in silver. Again, I'll explain those in another slide further on in the presentation. Exploration potential on the project is excellent, and as soon as we're healthy enough to start turning drills again, we expect to add new resources into the project that could justify a large expansion to double the size of the mine. That would be a 5-year type of a timeline or time frame to try to reach that. Over at Tahuehueto, incidentally, both projects are owned 100%. Tahuehueto initial production is coming up here in February, March. Revenue breakdown should be around 70% of the value of this project will be gold, 12 in silver, and the rest in base metals. And here the exploration potential again is excellent to increase resources and reserves, and we would expect to be able to double the size of this mine with a 2-year time frame and maybe triple it in a 3 to 5 year time frame. These are photos of the inside of the mill that's under construction, almost ready to go. Next slide. So this is our board of directors. We have a very strong board of directors. I'm president CEO. I have over 38 years experience in mineral exploration and development and over 35 years of managing public companies at a senior management level. David Rhodes is in, excuse me, I'm sorry. David is in finance in the UK with Endeavour Financial, managing director. He's our chairman and a director. Endeavour has raised billions of dollars for the mining industry, so he's been a really good addition to us, and we have that team to help us analyze potential new acquisitions, etc. Mark Bailey, independent director, professional geologist, was the founder of Mine Finders, who was very active in Mexico in the past. He's now retired, but giving us a lot of good advice. Tom Kelly, independent director, over 40 years of underground mining experience. He's a mining engineer. He's been an invaluable member of the team and is helping us out a lot. Natasha Kernan is a lawyer, independent lawyer. Her claim to fame was when she was working in New York. She was written up as one of the top 40 under 40 up and coming lawyers. She now resides in Vancouver and is helping us out. Roberto Guzman, independent director, controlling shareholder of the company, Mexican national, has been in Mexican finance for quite some time. And finally, Ruben Alvidrez Ortega, independent director. Ruben comes from a very prominent mining family in Mexico. His brother is the CEO of Fresnillo, and his father, now retired, is one of the senior members in Peñoles. So Ruben's been invaluable in helping us source contractors, equipment, etc., for our construction project, as well as for the operations at Campo Morado. And then the additional management team, Ruben or Omar Garcia, Chief Financial Officer, resides in Canada, dual Mexican-Canadian citizen. Armando Alexandri, Chief Operating Officer, built many mines in Mexico. He's taken on the construction at Tahuehueto, has done an excellent job getting us to where we want to go. Laura Lopez, who we don't have a picture of, but we will soon, just recently joined us, VP Financial Analysis, and Enrique Margalif, finance guy looking after the administration and finance in Mexico. Moving on, I'll talk a little bit now about the Tahuehueto Gold Project. This project, as I said, should be starting production in the next several weeks. On a partial basis, we expect to have one ball mill up and running within 2 to 3 weeks, and then Q2 this year, bring on a second ball mill. And by the end of Q2, we hope to have it up and running to start ramping up to full capacity of 1,000 tons per day. These are the current resources and reserves. Now I'll mention we do have a new pre-feasibility study, which is almost ready to issue. We expect probably by next week to come out with new numbers here. But these are based on a 2017 pre-feasibility study. Probable reserves of 3.2 million tons, 3.4 grams per ton gold, 41 silver, plus base metals. This grade here will make us a very high grade gold producer in Mexico, probably within the top 4 to 5 highest grade gold producers. So you look at these reserves will give us a 10-year mine life at 1,000 tons per day. If you look at measured and indicated, 6.1 million tons, which includes the reserves, that could give us another 10 years. So there's at least a 20-year, we believe, a 20-year mine life available at this project now with outlined resources. And the resource potential to expand that resource is very, very good. Explain that in a few more details. Should be producing around 25,000 ounces of gold annually on a gold equivalent basis in the 42,000 ounces with all metals, 1,000 tons per day, and around $800 per all-in sustaining cost per gold equivalent ounce. So it'll be a low-cost producer. This is a production profile. So through the years we will continue to produce at these levels. As you see, the current mine plan starts to fall down here in 28, 29, and 30. However, with exploration success, which will come easy, we expect to continue this type of production at 1,000 tons per day, or increase it if we move to a 2,000 ton per day or larger operation. There's the pie chart of the metals: 69% gold, 12 silver, 13 zinc, and 6 lead. There will be a small amount of copper produced at the project as well. These are a few photos of our construction. This is the main water tank, the ball mill being installed, the flotation circuit in through here, an outside view of the mill. So everything has moved along really well, and we're almost ready to go. Talk a little bit about the exploration potential. So Tahuehueto's a district scale project. This district, as we know it right now, is about 12 kilometers long by 8 kilometers wide. Our concessions are outlined in blue. We have this internal block, and then we have external blocks on the outside, which is covering what we believe is prospective ground within the district. Our only competitor is the sliver of ground around us, and that is a Fresnillo land holding. And Fresnillo, as I mentioned, one of the largest mining companies in Mexico. It's the only competitor. So we control about 80% more or less of the prospective ground within the district. Our exploration has really been concentrated right along this area in here. And so the red lines donate drilled structures where we have either resources or reserves. So from Cinco de Mayo up to this Perdido zone, we couldn't drill it here. There's too much overlying cover, but we find it again on the other side, and actually goes all the way down into this arroyo. From this arroyo to Cinco de Mayo is about 3.4 kilometers in distance. So it gives you some scale potential here. All of these yellow lines are other structures, mineralized veins. We know they're exposed on surface. We've only drilled this one with 6 holes just to test it and see what it looked like. And we found mineralization here similar to what we're finding on our main mineralized explored structure. So all of these represent future targets to go after and bring new resources and reserves in. And then on our main structure, we have not found the limits of the mineralization to depth or along strike. I believe these structures will continue underneath this younger rock. We can't drill them from surface, it's too expensive. But I believe they'll carry on down into the river in this area. There's high level alteration here, which suggests these structures are at depth. So there's more potential to the south, all of this potential to explore here. Our most northerly vein showing is up in this area. That's about 7.5 kilometers from the river. So it gives you some perspective on the size of this district, and that the exploration potential is enormous. Next slide I'm going to show you shows a longitudinal section along this main structure. And there it is. So this shows you what the ore bodies look like based on our drilling. Where it's outlined in this little blue color, that's a reserve. And where it's not outlined, those are resources. So we've got a lot of infill drilling we still need to do to try to bring some of these resources into a reserve category. But we have enough material here for a 10-year mine life with reserves at the moment. You'll note here that we have the zone called Santiago here, Creston over here. This is the same structure. We haven't been able to drill. There's too much overlying cover there, but we did drift in here about 150 meters past the last known drill hole, and we're still in mineralization all the way. There's about 600 meters distance between these two zones. So that area, I'm convinced, once we get underground, we start drilling underground, will show these kind of ore bodies all the way through to hook up to Santiago. I believe that could increase our resources reserves by 1/3 just in that area. We're open to depth, so we haven't found the limits of the mineralization to depth. Again, it gets too expensive to drill past these areas, and deep holes are very expensive. So lots of exploration potential below and to the south as well as to the north. And I hope that gives you a feel for where we believe this project can go with exploration success. Now we'll jump into Campo Morado. So this is the Campo Morado operating mine. It's a zinc mine, 6th largest zinc producer in Mexico at the moment. The mill is over here, our camping facilities here. This is an existing tailings facility that is now full and no longer being used. But there's a lot of metal in here. We hope to recover a good portion of that metal, which I'll explain in more detail in a few minutes. M&I resources at Campo Morado, 16.6 million tons at 1.7 grams per ton gold and 123 silver, 0.8 copper, 0.93 lead, and 4% zinc. So this is a volcanogenic massive sulfide deposit, and this gold grade is quite high for that style of a deposit. Unfortunately, the metallurgy is very tough, and the gold and silver are refractory in nature, which means we can't recover a lot of it through traditional flotation methods. So we're recovering about 15 to 20% of the gold right now, and about 40 to 50% of the silver. And this is where we think we can really increase that based on some new technologies, doing some forced oxidation and leaching, which has gone through first phase testing, where we believe we can really increase our recoveries on gold and silver. So right now we're a zinc producer. This resource gives us a 20-year mine life. And for 2021, our all-in sustaining costs were 87 cents per pound of zinc equivalent. So we have a lot of room for lower zinc prices to still make money. And actually C1 project costs were 64 cents per pound of zinc in year 2021. So this is a low cost producer at this point in time. And if we keep paying attention to keeping our costs down, we'll be able to absorb any serious decrease in the zinc price. And then if we bring on more gold and silver recoveries, then we expect to obviously improve the economics of this deposit. We are actually starting to plan to produce copper in the first or second quarter of this year. So we're going to be rigging up the mill to actually produce a copper concentrate as well. And the zone we're moving to mine have more copper content. Moving on, a few photos, just gives you some scale of the project. This is the current tailings facility we're using now. We're actually expanding that now. We should have another 4 or 5 years life on that once it's fully expanded. This is the crushing section, obviously traditional flotation cells within the mill. This is the flotation circuit that was under construction by the previous owner. It was about 80% complete when they put the mine in care and maintenance. So we got the benefit of all of that equipment. And if we decided to go ahead and put this in, complete the construction, put in production, we could increase production by up to 1,000 tons per day. However, we are testing some new methods of recovery, which may make this unnecessary to put into production. So let me explain that. So here's where we see growth opportunities at Campo Morado. So that potential expansion of that flotation circuit is something that we could do. We could probably largely fund that out of cash flows. However, we've been working towards pneumatic flotation. So we've been testing pneumatic flotation on site. And pneumatic flotation is designed to recover microfine ground ore. Right now, our mill, the traditional flotation cells, we're grinding to about 18 to 20 microns in size. And the traditional flotation cells are doing okay. But if these pneumatic flotation cells tend to recover better, get better recoveries and better grades of concentrate with microfine grinding. And it was just recently that we've been able to actually get our grinding levels down to the 10 to 13, 14 microns. We were waiting for some grinding media because of the slowdown in the economies and the shippings, et cetera. We were way behind on getting that material. We got it in mid-February, and we're now starting to achieve the microfine grind levels. And the current pilot plant we have on site, which is a Jameson pilot plant, Jameson cell pilot plant, has been able to start giving us really good grades on our concentrate. So we're getting better concentrate grades. And now we're working and testing to see whether we can actually increase our recoveries of base metals. So that's what's underway. And that process has got at least another 2 to 3 weeks with the pilot plant. And then we will start to look at maybe installing this technology if the results come back as positive as we hope. So one of the other things we're doing on site is we've been successfully made a pyrite concentrate in the lab. And we've been doing that, making enough, creating enough pyrite concentrate mass to go to a leach, forced oxidation and leaching with either the leach-ox process or the Albion process. And this leach-ox process, as well as the Albion process, went through first phase testing at Campo Morado with the previous owners of the mine. And the leach-ox showed that they could increase their gold recoveries up to 65% gold. That's a 400% increase from what we're currently getting. And the increased silver recoveries up to 81%. It's a 200% increase from what we're getting. And it's simply a matter of taking the tailings and force oxidizing them and then leaching them. And the success of our pyrite, of building a pyrite concentrate or making a pyrite concentrate, is really positive for us, because what it does, it will allow us to reduce the mass of the tailings And then the capital expenditures that would be required to install this forced oxidation and leaching would be much, much lower than if you had to oxidize and leach all of your tailings. So that's where we're pushing all of this testing towards. We hope to have it figured out and make some decisions mid this year on which way we can go and get a better idea of the capital cost to install that technology, assuming that it's justified by the results we get. And from the indications we're getting so far, I believe we'll get there. No guarantees until it's done, but I think we can do it. Now, if that works, then we have this historic tailings facility that we would hope to reprocess, just regrind it and reprocess it through the leach ox, or build a pyrite concentrate, leach ox, or Albion process the pyrite concentrate. We would also hope to be able to recover some of the base metal that's still in here that wasn't recovered initially because the grind was not microfine. So that, again, we'll be able to give the public more information on our results in the next quarter or two. And then if we look at long-term growth potential, this project has numerous anomalies that are ready to drill. And once we have enough funding, free cash flow to start drilling, we expect to add to the resources and reserves that may justify a larger expansion of the mine. This would be more of a 5-year target, couple of years of exploration, and then planning to expand the size of the milling and mining operation. Now let's talk a little bit about the exploration potential at Campo Morado, which is extremely good. So this image shows the existing ore bodies in the lower area. So there's the G9 Southwest, the El Largo, and then the Naranjo zone in green and purple here, El Rey and Reforma. Most of the mining was in the G9 Southwest zone. It was the highest grade, best recoveries. And then we've actually been mostly mining El Largo, although we have dewatered the majority of this area in here. And now we're starting to target mining some of the G9, which will supplement our production at El Largo. And then there's at least 2 more years of ore between these two. We have an exploration target down here that we're planning on drilling over the coming months. And if it works out, that could add 2 more years of exploration in this area in here, which is all accessible from the existing underground mine workings. And then this image above is a borehole geophysical representation of anomalies that were outlined with the previous owners. So to place you, this area here is El Largo, which is this ore body here. So all of these very strong electromagnetic anomalies are occurring down here at depth. And in fact, the previous owners did drill a few holes under Southwest Zone and to connect into some of the anomalies there. And they did hit good intersections of massive sulfides. Over 12, 14 meters of massive sulfides, high grade. So we need to go in there and drill that out. We believe we'll outline an ore body in here. And then we need to test all of these other ore bodies or these anomalies that are underneath the existing ore bodies. And this is a very common situation for volcanogenic massive sulfide, of having stacked ore bodies that have been formed throughout the formation of the mineralization over a long period of time. So that's where we want to go. Incidentally, this Reforma ore body is exposed on surface. This ore body helped fund the Mexican Revolution. Pancho Villa his groups were making coins out of direct smelting the outcropped ore at Reforma back in the Revolution days. So just a nice aside. This next slide shows the exploration potential on a property scale basis. So all of the ore bodies I just showed you are within this blue elliptical area in here. All of these other yellow and orange ellipses represent either geochemical and or geophysical, some coincident anomalies that are drill ready. They have been identified. We just need to go and locate them, set a drill on them and test them and see if we can bring in new ore bodies that could feed the mill in the future. So there's at least 17 of these, so lots of exploration potential there as well. And that's why we believe we can expand the size of this project and add a lot of life to the mine. And currently there's 20-year mine life with resources at 2,000 tons a day. I will jump into the capital structure. So we have a share price currently in the 30 to 35 cent range. 52-week high was 19 to 80 cents high. Shares outstanding 262 million with options and warrants. That brings us up to 333 million. Market capitalization US around 70 to 75 million dollars. We have cash on hand of around $4 million. This is a restricted cash. This is a cash that was in a bank account that we lost when our funder, the Ascendo Banco in Mexico, was put into receivership. So we haven't got access to this money, although it's on the bank, on the balance sheet. We have loan debt of around 38 million US. It gives us an enterprise value of around $100 million US. A peer comparison slide to show you where we believe we can grow this company to. Right now, our enterprise value over EBITDA is a ratio of about 1.4 for Altaley. Mexican polymetallic producers average 11.5. So lots of growth potential right here, just to get our mines, second mine into production, and we should start to realize some of this gap. And if you look at just junior gold producers, Altaley over at 1.4. Average is 4.1. So again, 4 times potential growth in here as well. There's numerous reasons why we're trading where we are. I can probably get into a few of those explanations on Q&A, but we do have huge growth potential. We believe we can start achieving that once Tahuehueto comes on stream and we start to get re-rating as a precious metal producer. So ESG, we are very active in ESG and always have been, even before ESG became a big buzzword in the industry. Most exploration mining companies have to pay attention to the environment and the social aspect of their projects. So we have a very strong component of that, although we haven't talked about it a lot. We will be starting to put ESG reports out later this year, once we get a few more people in working with us to be able to do that. And the environmental side of things, we are looking at getting more green in our production. So looking at installing potential solar power at Campo Morado to supplement the power we're using off the grid. Tahuehueto, because it's a remote project, we will be generating our own power, initially with diesel power generation, but we'll be switching to natural gas within 1 year's time. And that's a function of getting the natural gas permit to produce electricity. So we're applying for that permit. We expect it'll take 6 months to 1 year. And as soon as we have it, we will convert out our diesel generation to gas generation. On the social side of things, we've always paid special attention to the communities we work in. At Tahuehueto, in the exploration stage, we built the first school, we built a clinic, hired a doctor to staff that clinic, school teacher for the school. We've improved water, sanitation to the local areas in and around the mine site. At Campo Morado, we have training programs in place to train local people to get into the mining industry. We've recently moved and they're starting to train women in underground drilling. Things are moving along at Campo Morado very well. We've been helping local residents with their sports playing fields. We've put in sewer systems, water systems for a school. All the local communities in and around the mine site, we try as much as possible to repair the roads and keep the roads passable for accessing for the local people to access. So, we've been doing a lot. And on the governance side of things, we've really upgraded our corporate governance with the entry of the new board of directors and new management. And sort of to wrap things up, so Altaley Mining is Mexico's next mid-tier diversified metals producer. We have stable and growing cash flow from our Campo Morado operation. We'll be an emerging multi-mine producer with the production starting at Tahuehueto within the next month. Easily, we expect within 2 to 3 weeks to start testing the mill with ore and then thereby start producing concentrate. We're funded for growth. We have a large resource base. We have lots of exploration upside potential with a proven management board of directors. And then we've got this re-rating opportunity as a precious metal producer once Tahuehueto is online and at full capacity. So lots of good things happening in our company, and we would really like to answer any of your questions and invite you to become shareholders if you're not already. And that's the end of my presentation.
Thanks, Ralph, and a very thorough, insightful presentation. We're now moving to the Q&A portion of the webinar. And if you're interested in asking a question and are logged into Zoom or on the web platform, you can submit your questions directly through the Q&A module. We've already had a few questions come in, so why don't we just start right to it. There's been a few, Ralph, that center around the realized pricing that you've been seeing recently, a little bit of fluctuations on that and cost. So I thought you might be able to address that.
Sure. People doing due diligence and looking at our cash flows and our revenues, they'll note that we're not necessarily getting paid spot prices for our concentrate. And that's because we set prices 3 months in advance. So the prices, we don't set prices on all of our production. About 60 to 70% of our production is sold forward by 3 months. So for today's prices, when we're selling our concentrate, we'll be getting 3 months. We'll get a price set 3 months ago for about 60% of that concentrate. And now when prices start falling down, we'll maintain a higher price as the prices fall down, because again, we'll be being paid 3 months behind prices. So that will explain the discrepancy from spot prices to the prices we're paid on our concentrate sales. And we are protected, and we lock in those 3 months to help our cash flows be assured of what we're getting for that amount of time. And then as the metal prices start to reduce, we'll continue to maintain those strong prices, obviously, for the 3 months ahead. Now, the other question related to costs. So our costs in the last quarter went up considerably, and the majority of that cost, almost 60% of that, was due to an escalator fee with our off-taker. So as prices increase, we have what's termed an escalator fee. The price that's being paid to Trafigura also increases. So they're taking advantage of the increased price, as we are getting advantage from the increased price of our metal sales concentrate. Now, this is sort of a standard term in their agreements, and they do that to protect themselves on their hedging of when they sell their own concentrate. So yes, it is a higher cost, and it's unfortunate that we have to pay it, but it's terms of our concentrate offtake agreements, and they have to be honored. So all I can say is we're making more money, Trafigura is making more money, but our costs have gone up a little bit due to that. They will go down our costs will go down at the same time metal prices are going down.
Thanks, Ralph. Another question came in here. It's what is the all-in cost for Altaley, and what is the mine life for the current production, and also for the second mine, which is
okay. So Campo Morado first, those were the costs I outlined in the slide presentation. All sustaining costs are at about 80, I think it was 80 cents per pound of zinc produced. At Tahuehueto, we anticipate in the neighborhood of 800, 850 all-in sustaining costs per gold equivalent ounce. So quite, a fairly low cost producer considering the price of gold these days.
Okay, thank you. Another question came in. One person would like to know, there seems to be a slight bit of slippage on the production timing coming from Tahoe, and just wondering if you could address that.
Sure, I could comment on that. So we've always said that we're targeting to try to get Tahuehueto in production near the end of 2021. So we're not that far off. We've had some problems with some COVID. We had the COVID breakout going through the sites. We lost some time there. But if you look at such a large construction project, being 1 or 2 months outside of what we hope to get to, it's not a really huge delay. So we're more or less on track. We didn't make it for the end of 2021, but it was always broadcast as near the end of 2021, recognizing that we could slip a month or a month and a half. And we should be, as I say, producing through the first ball mill within the next 3 weeks, 4 weeks maximum. We should be starting our initial production, half capacity, 1 ball mill, 500 tons a day. next quarter, bring on the second ball mill, and by the mid this year, ramping the project up to full capacity of 1,000 tons per day.
Thank you. Another couple of questions have actually come in inquiring about the status of the ownership of Banco Ascendo.
Yeah, I don't know what to say about that one. The Ascendo Banco was had their license pulled and they're being liquidated. So, you know, it was obviously a concern to us for two reasons. One, we lost the funding that was there. However, we have replaced that. The other one is the Ascendo Banco owns a fairly large position in our company. Now, they are actually insiders of the company because of their large position. So, you know, if they are selling any stock, they'll be reporting that. We have been in conversation with the Ascendo Banco liquidators regularly, and they're intending to run a process to sell the block of stock they own on a public auction. It's probably within the next 3, 4, 6 weeks, as soon as they're ready to go. They'll be marketing the loan facility. We owe them $6.2 million on the loan facility. And they'll be marketing that as well as the equity position they own in our company in a lump package to any interested purchasers. And my hope is that that gets picked up by a friendly group that wants to grow with us. It's very unlikely that they'll sell that on the market. First off, we would know about it because they have to report. Secondly, they recognize that it's such a big position that they would not obtain the value of the stock by selling it on the market. And it would take them a very long time to sell it. So we believe there's interest from groups. So I've actually introduced a couple of groups that are looking at potentially bidding on that asset. And we'll see how it goes over the next little while. But that's, you know, unfortunately, it was just something that happened to the bank and, you know, didn't help us out, although it hasn't hindered us on the construction of Tahuehueto.
Thank you, Ralph. A couple other questions have come in more on the sort of financing side, balance sheet. They're wondering, you know, going forward, and given CapEx expectations, you know, will there be a need for financing? Or another question came in and said, you know, do you expect to be able to reduce debt further beyond your original goals?
So we are contemplating a raise of about $2 to $3 million. We don't necessarily need it, but if there was any kind of, you know, hiccups in production, let's say we get the mill started up and some major problems, something has to be replaced, you know, it's very unlikely that that would occur. But if it did, then you know, we might need a little bit more money. So the board has not made a decision yet. We probably will right after we issue the new pre-feasibility study for the project. We'll make a decision with if we need to do a raise or not. It wouldn't be a large raise, but we may do that. Sorry, was there another part of your question?
No, there was basically one investor had asked, you know, are any thoughts about reducing debt?
Yeah, so obviously the idea to reduce the debt will be something that's high priority for us. And it means basically get the project in production, get our cash flows going. The debt should be able to be paid back within 3 years. We've been discussing and looking out for a new group that might come in and totally refinance the existing debt, put it out to a 5+ year time frame, you know, 5 to 7, 8 years. That would free up a lot of cash flow and allow us to expand our exploration programs and a lot faster. So, you know, if we can find that size of or interest from a group to refinance us, then, you know, that would be a good way to pay that debt out quicker, to pay our existing debt out quicker. Obviously, we'll bring more debt on, but having it new debt paid out over 5 years as opposed to 3 would make a big difference in our free cash.
And the last question here, are there any plans to uplist the shares to a more senior exchange?
Yeah, absolutely. That's something we've discussed and want to go ahead with. You know, we'll likely initiate that process very soon, get Tahuehueto up and running, and then start the process to list initially on the TSX. And we'll be investigating uplisting in the US, maybe later this year, early next year. But the TSX should come very quickly.
Great. Well, thanks, Ralph, and thanks everyone for joining us today. Today's webinar recording will soon be made available on Altaley's website. And if you have any additional questions that have not been addressed here on the webinar, please feel free to email us at altaley@rbmilestone.com. Thanks again, and this concludes the webinar.
Thank you, everybody. Bye-bye.